Today, we're diving into two really powerful stories from two young women. Now, they lived worlds apart, but they shared this incredible, profound struggle against injustice. We're going to get to know Zitkala Sa and Bama, and their fight to hold on to their dignity.
It's a heavy question, right? And it is right at the heart of both of the stories we're exploring today. This isn't just some history lesson. It's a deeply personal look at what it actually feels like as a child to have your very identity attacked.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll meet our two narrators. Then, we'll dive into the specific incidents that completely changed their lives. We'll look at the symbols of their oppression, see how they fought back. And finally, we'll unpack the universal lesson their stories teach all of us.
Okay, let's start by meeting the two remarkable young women at the center of all this. Like I said, they lived in completely different parts of the world, but as you're about to see, their experiences with injustice were just shockingly similar. So, on one side, we have Zitkala Sa, who was born Gertrude Simmons Bonin. She was an incredible writer and activist from the Yankton Sioux tribe in America, and her story is called The Cutting of My Long Hair. And on the other side, we have Bema, a celebrated Tamil Dalit writer from India. Her story is called We Too Are Human Beings. And these aren't fiction, these are their real, lived experiences. Their settings are literally continents apart, but the core of their struggles, it's so familiar. Zitkala Sa finds herself in a mission boarding school in the U.S., facing forced assimilation into white American culture. Bama is in her village in India, coming face to face with the brutal reality of caste-based discrimination. You see, both of them are up against entire systems designed to keep them down. All right, now let's get into the specific moments, these deeply personal events that would completely shape how they saw the world and their place in it. You could say these were their rude awakenings.
To really get the weight of this moment, you have to understand, this was never just a haircut for Zitkala Sa. In her culture, long, heavy hair was a symbol of strength, of honor. It was only cut for cowards or for people in mourning. The school knew this, so their demand wasn't just a rule. It was a deliberate attack on her culture and a way to humiliate her.
And this just shows the sheer cruelty of it all. She didn't just give in. No way. She fought back. She hid in a dark room, under a bed, trying to escape. But they found her, dragged her out kicking and screaming, tied her to a chair, and she felt those cold scissor blades just gnawing off her braids. She said her spirit was broken, just like a defeated warrior. Now let's shift over to Bama. We see her as this little girl walking home from school, just fascinated by everything going on in her village. And one day, she sees an elder from her community carrying a food packet in this really weird way. He's holding it out by a string, making sure it doesn't touch his body. To her young eyes, it's just bizarre and kind of funny, and she just bursts out laughing. But Bama soon learns the brutal truth behind what she saw. Her older brother explains what was really going on. That funny sight? It was because the elder couldn't touch the food. Why? Because as a member of a lower caste, his touch was considered polluting to the upper caste landlord it was for. This was the disgusting reality of untouchability. So both of these moments revolve around something physical, right? A haircut and a food packet. Let's look a little closer at how these simple things became powerful symbols of the oppression each girl was up against. For Zitkala Sa, her hair wasn't just hair. It was her connection to her culture, her family, her spirit. Cutting it was like severing that connection. And for Bama, that food packet, held so carefully by a string, became this perfect symbol of the invisible, yet rock-solid walls of the caste system. A system that basically screamed that she and her community were untouchable and less than human. But here's the crucial part. These awful events didn't just end in pain. They actually sparked an awakening. They put each girl on a path of resistance and a fight for self-respect. But their awakenings felt really different. For Zitkala Sa, it was immediate. It was physical, a deep feeling of humiliation and just total powerlessness right in that moment. Bama's was more of a slow burn. First, she laughed, then she was confused, and then, only after her brother explained it, came this profound shock and anger at the injustice she'd just seen. And this is the turning point for Bama. Her brother, Anon, doesn't just explain the problem, he gives her a solution. He tells her, look, because we were born into this community, people will try to strip us of our honor and dignity. But he gives her a weapon, education. He says if you study hard, if you learn, you can break through those barriers.
So this table really lays it all out, doesn't it? You can see their parallel journeys so clearly. Both faced injustice just because of the community they were born into. For Zitkala-Sa, the path forward was about reclaiming and writing about her own cultural identity. For Bama, it was about education, using it as a tool to gain self-respect and to challenge that oppressive system.
So what do we take away from these two incredible stories? We see that even though they were from totally different continents and cultures, their experiences point to this powerful universal lesson about the fundamental right to human dignity.
And this is really what it all boils down to. That discrimination, no matter what it looks like, is a destructive social evil. That just becoming aware of injustice is the absolute first step to fighting it. That knowledge and education are incredibly powerful tools for empowerment, and maybe most importantly, that every single person has a right to their own identity and their own self-respect. Period.
Ultimately, this is the core message we get from both of their lives. If you want to overcome these deep-seated prejudices, it's going to take immense courage, a clear-eyed awareness of what's wrong, and the power that comes from education to build a new path.
And that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. The struggles of Zitkala-Sa and Bama, they aren't just stories from the past. They force us to look around, to see the injustices happening in our own time, in our own communities, and to ask ourselves, how can we, like they did, respond with courage and conviction?